Where's the meeting minutes?
No one's, everybody's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 are absent. They're not going to be online.
Mr. Ellison.
Mr. Ellison isn't going to be on. He didn't get a signature, so we have to keep.
Cool.
And then Peter is at the Olympics. The gentleman.
Okay. Got it. All right. Guess we're ready. I'd like to call this meeting to order for Monday, August 12th, 24, regular meeting for EVIT board meeting. Going to stand, please. Tammy, you're on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call to order presentation recognition. Okay, we have presentations and recognitions. Technology plan, Dr. Wilson.
Mr. Board President, wow. Mr. President, members of the governing board, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our new technology director. Chris came to us via Queen Creek, but also has extensive experience within the industry. And one of the things we've talked about historically in the organization is making sure that we're being mindful and proactive in not only protecting what we have, but growing into who we expect ourselves to be. And one of those areas that we have worked at but need more work on is technology. So one of the tasks Chris was charged with when he came on board is coming up with a 3 to 5 year plan in technology so that we can make sure that we're doing the work that needs to get done to stay current, but also to stay proactive. I give Dr. Schreiner credit for working with Chris because this has been a process that we've been wanting for quite some time. So Chris is going to talk to you about our technology infrastructure, our plan, where we're at, and where we need to go. Chris.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Good evening, President Covington and board members. In my nearly 30 years in IT in various industries, I can tell you that nothing stresses a system like the beginning of school. It puts the most stress on any system we have, and this year was no exception. Our technology infrastructure was put to the test for sure. So. Technology is both a blessing and a curse, and we know this. We rely heavily on it, on internet access for Focus, Canvas, the curriculum. Just about everything we do right now is online, and our current infrastructure is just not sufficient to support the growth. We've had network slowdowns and issues nearly every day since the start of school, and this has negatively impacted the students and the staff, and we've had lots of complaints, and rightfully so. Upkeep and maintenance have been done with limited resources for years, but the team has done the best they could with the resources that they've had. Now, in order to mitigate these issues, we have 2 big projects we're looking to accomplish this year. The first one being the main campus backbone, the network infrastructure. It's the connectivity between all the buildings into our core that's building 1. A lot of that fiber is old, it's original, it's limited in speed. You can compare it to like a 1-lane highway, which gets bogged down during rush hour for sure. And so we're looking to replace that fibering and with new cabling that'll support 10 to 100 lanes. So it'll be a lot faster and reduce that bottleneck in that area. Now, the expected life of this fibering would be 20 plus years, so it'll outlive probably most of us here and won't need to be worried about. Now, when we do that, we need a new core switch. That's the device that all this cable connects to be able to support that increased network speed that we're looking to provide out to the buildings. So that would be in addition to this. And then we also need to replace the battery backup units. Those UPSs, there's some of them 15 years old. Which is pretty good considering expected life is about 10 years. But they were pretty well maintained, so they've been able to outlive their life pretty well. The other project that we're looking at is a firewall. The firewall is that device that sits between our network and the internet, and it filters all the internet traffic. So all that increased load is being narrowed down through a single system. It protects us from direct cyber attacks, as well as filters all the content. And the old one's a few years old, but it was a low-level device, and we've outgrown it, and we need to get more of an enterprise size unit, and that comes at a pretty pricey tag there. All right, and so that's what we're looking at for this year. For the work, we're hoping to get that done by Thanksgiving, but we're getting everything gathered up to get these projects going. Beyond this year, we look at the next 2 to 5 years, where we have projects that are in two different categories: replacing aging systems and expanding to support growth. When we look at IDF switches, the IDFs are the wiring closets scattered throughout the buildings and stuff. The individual phones and workstations connect into those switches, and some of them are not even one-lane highways, they're more like residential roads. So we will be looking at replacing those, as well as our wireless access points. They're coming to the end of their life, the end of support from the vendor. And when we've been doing the remodeling throughout this campus, we've been putting in new devices, so those are good to go. But the spaces that are not getting remodeled, as well as the entire Power campus, will need new access points, so we can provide that wireless access to all the students and staff. And also included that is the phone systems and bell systems. We have a new bell system at this campus, but we still have some old parts from the old bell system in some of the spaces that have not been remodeled. And so we're looking to, over the next 2 to 5 years, replace and upgrade all of those units. Now, as we continue to grow, we need to look at other parts like our campus-to-campus network. The Power campus gets its internet access by a connection to main and then out to the internet. And that's a small connection. We can upgrade that connection, higher monthly costs for every increase in speed. We also have the option of maybe having our own fiber line between us and Power, so not using Cox at all. There's a lower monthly cost to that, but then there's a higher outlay for building that. And those are things that we have to look at and evaluate what's going to be the best cost and the best utilization of our resources and our money. Now, because we're so heavily reliant on internet, we also want to look at what happens if we lose our internet connectivity. You might not know this, but during that fee week, our second busiest day of the week, we lost internet to this campus. But we still were able to process over 900 students and get the pictures taken, the fees paid, and their slides getting out, because we had a little wireless access points spread throughout the banquet hall, which worked fine for that, but campus-wide, we don't have any other options to keep everyone online. A redundant internet connection, we could put a second connection at Power, and if we lose any connection, we can reroute the traffic. We did the same thing at Queen Creek. We had 2 connections, and it really limited any downtime we had. We have a virtual server environment, and it's fairly new, but over the years we might have to expand it a little bit, and as well as pull some services out of it that just to make things run smoother and stuff. So that's a much smaller project, but these are all the projects that we're looking at for the next 2 to 5 years, just for the infrastructure itself. Our end goal really is to build a robust infrastructure to support both the current needs as well as our future growth. There we go. Do we have any questions for me?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
When do you want to start this? I mean, they're tearing apart building 1 right now. It'd be an ideal time to kind of put a lot of wires in there and stuff that you need, but
Yeah, part of the remodel of Building 1 is running some new fibering within that building, but it is a great time. We're taking up some extra space up in the second floor for a server room and stuff. If we get that moved out before the second floor gets demolished and stuff, that frees up additional space for classrooms.
We're going to have this, yes.
So I'd like to thank Chris and the tech department. I mean, he said this at the beginning, that, technology is one of those things that it's like a roof on your house. Nobody thinks much about it until it collapses, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, why is your roof not? And we as an organization have labored over the years to make sure that our technology was ready and current for what our needs are. And Chris, I think, has come in and been able to see kind of where we're at and where we need to go, and to be proactive in looking for solutions. To answer your question, Mr. Covington, the goal is to have at least the firewall and the backbone done before this semester is over. The challenge with that is that obviously there's a cost associated with it. And so part of what we want to do is make sure that we're understanding completely the cost that is associated with it, and what are some revenue streams that we can utilize to pay for those costs without just necessarily going straight to our funding. So as an example, E-rate is a function that can be utilized to help offset some of those costs, and potentially some other funding that isn't necessarily specific to EVIT. So that'll be part of the process as well.
Now, the firewall protects us, right?
Yes.
Okay. How much did we get when we got hacked last year? How much that cost us?
Well, indirectly, it's going to cost us in our insurance renewal, and so we haven't necessarily seen that yet. So we won't know what that is until the renewal comes around. I mean, there's a threshold that we have to hit, which I think is several $1,000s, and then after that, the rate will reflect the cost long-term.
Well, let me ask this, is what we're proposing here for this firewall, would it protect the way we were attacked? I mean, can you measure that? Are we bumping it up to the point that it can protect us from attacks such as that? And I'm a non-techie person, so.
Now, so I'm not entirely, it's not entirely clear to me how the last attack happened, but like I say, it's for more of the direct attacks. There's many other methods and ways to get access to a system, but then we have other projects that we're working on to deal with those, and we've been working with the state cyber readiness program to kick off some more projects to better secure our environment.
Do they
But
give
it's
grants?
part
Do
of
they
it,
work
but it's
with
not-
That's what
funding?
we're looking for.
Is that what we're
That's
looking
what
at?
we're looking
Okay.
for. And this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, because I'm probably going to be wrong. But, when my house was broken into a number of years ago, we went and got an ADT alarm system, right? And the police showed up and we said, oh my gosh, we have ADT now. And the officer said, look, at the end of the day, there's not a system that's going to prevent you from being broken into if the individuals are smart enough and willing and wanting to. All you're trying to do is to limit that opportunity. So to answer your question, I don't know that any system that we get will be able to be assured that we don't get hacked again. I think what we're trying to do is to create a system that makes it less likely that we're a target versus somebody else. And this, I think, would somewhat help do
Yes.
that.
Yes, it would.
Thank you. Let me ask you another question. When the internet went down during Fee Week, do we know why that happened? Just too many
There's
people?
construction off-site that dug up
Okay.
the fiber cable.
Okay. So
Yeah, that was a
beyond what
Cox.
this,
Yeah.
right, that's on them.
That was
Okay.
actually a Cox. And so, to Chris's point and to Alex, did a wonderful job. You go into the banquet room, the culinary banquet room, and everybody has these little hotspots. People had their phones out, they were doing hotspots, and so it actually worked, right? But to Chris's point, that's not a long-term solution. That was a short-term solution to an issue that could have been really problematic, and it wasn't, due to what we had and the resources that were deployed.
Well, kudos to everyone who stepped up that day. That's impressive.
Yeah, it was a perfect example to me of the team that we have here at EVIT, because it wasn't just IT, it was everybody got together, figured it out, and we were able to get the work done, because we were out without internet the whole day.
Jeez.
And had literally thousands of people coming. So imagine how that would have gone. Any other questions? Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you for making that understandable for me, using the road, highways, and everything for me to understand what's going on. Okay. Okay, item B, 3B, STEM invitation presentation. Dr. Wilson?
So, Mr. Covington, members of the governing board, I'd like to actually introduce both these at the same time because they're both being presented by Dr. Doolin, and I think I reversed these. We're going to start with the construction update. We talked on several meetings ago about making sure, you guys have been very amazing stewards in helping us remodel and reinvent both of our campuses. And I think sometimes we don't do as good a job as we probably could or should in making sure you're understanding completely what we're doing. So there'll be a construction update that will kind of give you a visual sense of the work that's being done. And then the second item is the STEM initiative presentation. You all should have received an invitation. If you haven't, you will in the near future, about an event that's happening September 4th. It's an exciting opportunity, I think, for EVIT to take another step into an area that we haven't necessarily taken the kind of steps maybe we should have over the course of our time together. So Dr. Doolin's going to present both the construction update as well as the STEM initiative presentation.
1 second. Since I'm the president and I changed the order, I'll change the order for you.
Thank you, thank you.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just going to wait here for a second for the PowerPoint to come up.
Dang IT.
Let me make sure it's legal.
Okay, so we're going to start with the construction update. I'm going to kind of walk you through where we are now, where we're going, and there's also a fly-through in here. So it is going to be longer than the STEM update. The STEM is only about 2 slides. This one is a little bit longer, but I wanted you all to have the information so that you can answer questions as the public asks, and you can also understand what's happening on this campus and maybe why we're running into some space issues as we evacuate everybody from different areas. So the recently completed, this is where we are right now today. So we have, in building 1, on the first floor, we have completed barbering. That was completed on 7/23/2024. You will notice that was 1 day before school started. So we were cutting it close there. We are still awaiting 1 graphic wall that hasn't been put up yet. We are waiting on that installation, but otherwise everything is up, furniture is in, and we are teaching out of that space. Baking was completed on 8/12/2024, which was, if you're looking at the calendar, you will know what day that would happen. Mr. Howe was very excited to be able to tell them that they finally get to move in. We're still waiting on the graphics in the hallway and in some of the main baking space, and I believe we still have 1 hood that needs to be installed, but we were cleared to go ahead and use that space until that hood arrives, and I believe it's arriving next week. The student bookstore was also completed right around 7/23/2024. However, when we opened up the bookstore, the lighting that was placed in the bookstore is not to be desired. It is really low lighting and it's not doing what we need it to do. So we are, the architect along with the construction has taken that on and realized that the lighting that was ordered is not appropriate for the space. And so we have ordered additional lighting that will make that space much better and more usable. Right now we've just been using it to distribute the fee materials, but not really using it as a student bookstore at this time because the lighting is really, really poor. We expect those to be in later this week, beginning of next week, and then an install and ready to go by 9/1. We have vending machines that are going to go on that space that are on order. They're not scheduled to be here probably till the end of September, maybe even the 1st of October before the vending is up and running in that space. However, you can see that it's not going to impact too many as we only have baking, culinary, and some barbering students in that space right now. And it's really not completely open because the middle section is still closed off. Building 1 timeline, so you can see what's happening. Remainder of the first floor. The completion date for the remainder of the first floor is December 2024 for the following programs. That's fashion, interior, aesthetics, criminal justice, and general education classrooms. And then after that, the completion date of March 2025 is for Building 1, bottom floor as well, the administration area. This impacts the deans, counselors, admission, recruiters, registrar, attendants, our special ed liaisons, and quite a few other people, as well as the main student lounge. Those areas will not be complete until roughly March of 2025. Then we're going over to what's happening at the same time, and we are going to begin demolition in December of 2024 of the second floor. As you can see, we're going to complete the first floor, move those programs back into their final space, and then take all of the programs that are currently on the second floor and move them into the vacant space so we can start demolishing the second floor. This puts a lot of onus and a lot of work on our facilities, and I just think they need to be commended because they've had to move these classrooms multiple times to make this work in the construction timeline. The auditorium demolition is not going to start till the end of February 2025, and that is due to the fire students needing the auditorium in order to finish their wildland certification. So we're holding off on demoing that area till they are finished with that training in February. Come on. Okay, this is the fly-through. This is going to show you the bottom floor of Building 1. You're entering the admissions, counseling, all of those areas student-focused. That front section is admissions. You have a conference room. And then counseling's down the far hallway. Along this back is where the deans will be located, and this is the faculty lounge. John would like you to know that was his office you were just in. This is in that back conference room. And no, we won't get a table like that. I've already tried. Down this hallway will be instructional specialist, as well as our special ed, and this is a testing room. There's 2 front rooms that are study rooms that students can use. These are the study rooms, there's 2 of them. And now you're in the back in the hallway, and this is the student lounge. That's the old vault space for anyone who's been here a while. This is aesthetics. There's 5 classrooms down this hallway as well as a waiting room. You'll notice the window access from the hallway. This is so tours can see aesthetics without disturbing the classroom environment. You are now entering fashion and interior. This first classroom is actually a general education classroom. We made a conscious decision to use all the extra space. This is interior. This is fashion. This is their shared lab. And if you notice this hallway, it's set up so that they can do their, with the lighting, so that they can actually do their runway show in the space that they occupy now, or will be occupying. We're now heading over to criminal justice, and there are some extra classrooms back here for criminal justice for growth as well. This is criminal justice lab space. This is actually Barbering's additional space. This will connect to where Barbering is now. This is the extra room that we're adding because of the growth we've seen in Barbering. That's it. So hopefully I didn't make you too dizzy.
I'm like, ooh.
Okay, so here's the overarching of the bottom floor of Building 1. It's probably not super easy to see. If you need them to zoom in, they can. But I wanted to show you, you can see the, as we walk through the aesthetics, on your top in the middle is the aesthetics, and then on the far side is your interior and fashion. And you will see there's extra rooms because they're only occupying 3. So there's 2 rooms for growth there, as well as down below you can see the barbering rooms, and then we went and we set up an extra barbering room because of the growth we've already seen. And then where we didn't show you is there's a shelled space. There's a whole section of shell space that we are building out to classrooms, but it's not slated for anything yet. But we are going ahead and building it out. Each classroom will hold 40, so it fits within our plan of moving forward and growth. Now, what I'm going to show you next is more of an up-close view of the admissions area. So this is the admissions, I'm going to say the latest design. And so you can see the student lounge in the bottom portion. That's where the old vault used to be, where admissions used to be, plus some of the vault area. And then we really wanted to maximize on space, and that's why, as you saw through that fly-through, there's little cutouts and little areas where we can have administrative assistants or people who are coming from Power Campus to this campus hoteling, that there's space for them to go, as well as maximizing, trying to put everything behind these doors. If you look at the access is really well controlled in this space. It's so that when the student has a student need, everything is right here. Everything from financial aid, counseling, meeting with their dean, meeting with an instructional specialist, and if it's a student that has an IEP, meeting with their special ed liaisons, as well as the nurses in the top corner. So if a student has a need on this campus, they would know where to go. Our student success coaches are in there. So it was trying to put everything underneath this section that would have daily interaction with students. That was the goal of the design. So you'll notice I've been asked, where's marketing? Where's those types of things? Marketing doesn't necessarily have interactions with students in that way every day, so we're locating them in other office space that we have. But we really wanted to focus on this space is where all the students' daily needs would be. And then right across the way, which I would have to go back a slide, is IT. And IT has a section on that bottom floor. In their front room of IT, they will man with an IT specialist that's there for student support, so that the students can go right there if they're having problems with their computer and have someone help them, as well as staff. Instead of having to put in a ticket in and wait for assistance, they can go right there and it's all in one space. Upcoming construction. So here's what's coming up. Building 1, currently under construction, slated for completion 7/2025, the entire thing. Central plant, we pre-ordered, procurement is in process. Construction's going to begin in 12/24. That's when actual construction's going to begin. It's slated for completion I put 7 of 2026. I lied. I got an update on that. They're hoping to have it done by November, is that what they said? 2025. So they're going faster, but that is one we are anticipating we might have some delays just because of the nature of what we're digging and what we're doing. So we're preparing for that. Building 2, that is where culinary is. That is in design discussion. Construction has not yet been solidified. Some of the reason we're not, I'm going to say pausing, but not giving a firm date on that is it's really going to depend on the central plant and how central plant construction goes with digging up what we need to dig up. Potential future needs. We have some future needs which are impacting how we move forward as well. Main campus, we need to look at additional parking. As you know, we have parking in the back off of Alma School that we added this year, but that is temporary parking that we need to make permanent parking. As well as we're looking at a welding expansion. Welding has tapped out on the main campus. We are out of room. And so we're looking at where we can potentially expand to welding, is looking at a CDL diesel building back there where that new parking is. And then refreshing of buildings 14, 15, 16, and 10. All of them need a little bit of a refresh, just so that we stay consistent with that life cycle plan that we've talked about many times. We will need to start looking at some refresh of those areas so that we don't find ourselves 30 years down the road and not have touched those updates. Power campus, remodel of existing space to create additional classrooms in building 6. So building 6 has the ability of, it's a beautiful building, but there's excess space out there that we could capture for our growth and actually make additional classrooms. Remodel of building 7 to accommodate the STEM expansion, and we're going to go over STEM next. And then potentially additional STEM building, and that is, we got to keep an eye. None of this is concrete. We'll be watching our enrollment to see where we are with STEM, to see if our partners, what they would like to see us do, those types of things. And then additional parking out at Power. Parking seems to be a daily talk around here, is the parking. So I just wanted to give you an idea of none of the potential future needs are anything that's happening tomorrow or set in stone, but we wanted to make sure you knew as a board of things that we're seeing might be potentials in the future and where we might need to go from there. Any questions?
I do. What classes are in building 6 right now? So I understand.
Vet assist.
That's a new building.
It is.
Okay.
So one of the things that I think I have been impressed with in this design here, especially at the main campus, is the ability to look for how to maximize space. We've talked before about growth, and our hope is that we continue to grow, and I'll share a little bit later, but we opened after we purged, and I think we're at about 7,200, something like that, for high school and adult, high school, not high school standalone, but high school that are with adult, or high school that are with adult. And so if you add on another 500 or 600 on the adult this year, then we're inching towards the 8,000. As we continue to grow our programming, I don't know that we're going to have a decline in enrollment. I think we're going to have a growth in enrollment. And so the ability to maximize space and use space efficiently and effectively, and one of the things that has been a bit of a challenge for us organizationally, but I think we're over the hump now, is shared space. So as you saw in that presentation, there's programs that will share labs, where historically we would wind up having a lab for a classroom and another lab for another classroom. Well, if we take those 2 labs and share them, we get extra classrooms that we can rotate through. And so it's been some work on our curriculum department, it's been some work on instructional coaches to help build that pedagogy and that process in our classrooms to be able to facilitate that. But by doing that, we actually maximize space utilization so that we can continue to grow. It will be a task to get through, but like I've said to you all before, I'm really appreciative of our partners, Chase and SPS Plus. The ability for them to be patient with us and to go down the road of doing a remodel to the scope that we are doing while we're in school is not an easy task, but they've been wonderful, wonderful partners. And then Dr. Doolan and the others who participated on EVIT's end have been really patient in making sure that we're programmatically building not only current but future needs. And so it's a process that actually has gone remarkably well, although it can be at times a very taxing process. Questions?
No questions?
Mr. President, I just have a question.
Go ahead, yes.
Well, it's actually not a question. This is remarkable. And this is also going to be very helpful for teacher recruitment and obviously for retention. Because when a teacher comes in from industry and they're used to one thing and they come into public education and they think, oh my gosh, I don't have anything, how can I teach this class? This is going to be incredibly helpful for keeping and retaining teachers coming from industry.
It is.
And also teachers in CTE as well.
And I arc back to the presentation that Chris did at the very beginning with the technology. I mean, part of what we're hoping to do is to be able to show you how we link these pieces together, that the system is a whole, but each of the whole has different parts that all have to work. And so building an infrastructure and space utilization that is current and professional, but having the technology to support on the back end allows us then to bring individuals. When we talk about curriculum, Dr. Fremer's spoken previously, but she'll come again and talk about the work that's been done in Canvas and our instructional specialists building out shells. You all have been around when a teacher leaves, the curriculum leaves. And so a new teacher comes in, they have nothing. Well, we're not in that space anymore. We have the facilities, we're going to have the technology, we have the curriculum, a system that is allowing us to grow and be sufficiently prepared to meet the needs of our students. And it's overwhelming at times, but it's really exciting. So that's the construction update. The second update is what I think of an incredibly interesting opportunity at EVIT. I think EVIT has historically leaned into certain spaces really, really well, but other spaces we kind of have taken a step back. And what we see happening in our CTED, across the state of Arizona, but specifically in our CTED, is kind of that growth of that semiconductor, the microchip, that kind of advanced manufacturing. And I don't believe that we have done a job sufficient in helping to meet the need of that industry. So Dr. Doolan's going to talk about an initiative that we're hoping will help remedy that.
I do want to say one thing. We did work with every single program as we go through the remodel and we get to that particular program. We sit down with the program and the architects and go through how to maximize and get everything that everybody needs. And it's been wonderful. Okay, heading on to STEM.
Dang technology.
STEM update, so excited. This is a quick one. So with our STEM, I think the biggest thing that I'm going to ask you to wrap your mind around is that this is an area, as Dr. Wilson said, that we have not done a very good job leaning into. And so one of the tasks that I asked of all of our partners when I would go out and they would ask us to talk or come to a STEM meeting is I kept asking them, they would say, what do you have that would feed to us? And I finally asked them, don't worry about what we have. Tell me what you need and what you want, and then we'll design a program to meet that. Because there's currently really nothing, no certifications that we have in-house that are meeting the needs of our partners, of our business partners in this area. They're wanting a variety of things, and there wasn't really one track that really was working for them. So we asked them to just kind of not worry about what ADE had on the list and to really think about what do you want, because we can always then appeal and file the paperwork to do a local program through ADE. So that's what we've been doing over, I want to say, about the last year. I think we've been working on this about a year behind the scenes, meeting with our business partners out by the Power Campus, because that's where most of the tech is, asking them what they want to see, and how they want us to design it. So we're finally to the point where we are ready to show everybody what has been designed behind the scenes. So that is what you are going to come to learn about on September 4th. I've been asked not to share too much because, of course, our business partners, as well as those who've been working on this, are very excited for the pre-launch that is going to happen September 4th. And this is by invitation only for our industry partners and invited guests. And all of you are invited guests. The board is welcome to come, and we encourage you to attend. We have Boeing, Honeywell, and Intel, who will all have people present there as well. And then September 16th, we're going to do an open house for the community members. This is for students, families, and employers. Pre-registration for this program will be available at this event. The classes will begin in July 2025. So there's multiple different pathways within this STEM program because there's so much overlap between what is advanced engineering, what's applied manufacturing, clean rooms, a lot of those ins and outs kind of cross over. And so that's what we're going to present is all the different pathways and how the partners have helped us to align what they need out of this STEM programming out at the Power Campus. Moving forward after this initial launch, we'll then start also looking at moving some of our technology, like the IT sides, also out to the Power Campus. Of course, that will be space dependent, and that's why on the previous construction slide was potential STEM building. It depends on how big this grows and where it goes. Pieces of this also include aviation, which is as well as welding. So all kind of intermixes, which is great when we sat with them. They're like, we need a piece of this, we need a piece of this, we need a piece of this. So that's what you're gonna see. Not gonna answer a ton of questions on this because we want you to come September 4th, but questions?
Yes, I'd like to thank you for your both presentations. You did a very good job, very knowledgeable, and a lot of work in it, I can tell.
Yes, that is a lot of work.
Thank you.
And I have to do a shout out to Dr. Fremer. She has pretty much led the way on the STEM. She has had every meeting and done a fabulous job bringing the partners to the table.
I do have a question. Is this part of apprenticeship, or how will this dovetail
So-
with it?
Great question. That I can't answer. Yes, it's part of the apprenticeship. So we currently have 4 apprenticeships that are open and are starting next year. The 5th one, there's a 5th one that's tied to this.
Okay.
So I'm not going to tell you what it is till you come, but there is a 5th apprenticeship pullout that's a tied to the STEM.
The breadcrumb presentation.
The breadcrumb presentation.
Well, teaser.
I did not bring the promotional video.
Yeah, do you want to cue it up?
It's gonna make me dizzy.
We're going to show you the promotional video that's out about STEM. I didn't link it in my program, sorry.
Like, great.
So one last thing, then we'll get off this. One of the things that was important to us is that we convey that this isn't the typical STEM. I mean, those of us that have been around in education have talked about STEM for a long period of time, and oftentimes that creates this kind of mental mindset that's very different than what this is. I think this is something that's uniquely, that is incredibly exciting. As Dr. Doolin said, what makes it uniquely different is that it's not educators coming to business and industry saying this is what STEM is. It's us sitting with business and industry telling us what is it that you need, and then building it from there. And even though that sounds the same, it's fundamentally different in the programming that's going to be provided. So we're excited and anxious. And to Dr. Doolin's point, I do want to thank Dr. Fremer. She has spent an enormous amount of time building this out, and we'll be excited to share with you on the 4th as well. So unless there's any questions, that's presentations, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 5, we have called the public. We have a Mike Davis.
I believe we have the minutes.
4, excuse me, minutes. You can do minutes. We'll do that in a couple minutes. Okay, my boo-boo.
Mr. President, move the approval of the minutes of July 15th, 2014.
I second that.
24, sorry.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, I ask for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now we'll go call the public. We'll have Mr. Davis come up. The rules are very simple.
If you want to come on up.
Mr.
Come
Davis.
on up here, Mr. Davis.
Come on up
Just
to
up to
the
that
podium.
podium up there.
You have 3 minutes to speak. We cannot answer any questions or debate it at all with you. And We'll listen to what you have to say and appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Kind of hard for me to speak sometimes, so I'll try to think it's best done.
Let me start.
You know where to start. Well, my mom died 6 years ago when I started working here. I wanted to mention that because she wanted me to have a good job, you know. And I tried to be the best I can. So I got my birthday just last week. Everybody says, you're the best. I think that's very important on birthdays. And this one girl, I don't even know her, she wrote, you're such a big part of EVIT and make EVIT possible. I don't know you too well, but you make my dreams possible. You make this next year count. Well, I never got terminated before, and I'm just doing the best I can. And if I'm not there, the building's gonna fall apart. I mean, not fall apart, but it's all the stuff that I do. I do a lot of good things for everybody. And I'm in each building twice a day. And then I was gonna say that there was a little incident that happened before my birthday. And, well, I can't be everywhere. I know they consider me, I tell them I'm Superman or Spider-Man. But I try to do everything I can. I think in the last 2 hours after the kids leave, at 2:35, I have less than 2 hours to get aviation done. And I don't leave until I get things done. I have to do the floors, the bathrooms on all 3 floors, trash. And if I'm not there, I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't want to work anywhere else. I love EVIT. And everybody's gave me a shirt of EVIT, and I enjoy EVIT so much. It's my livelihood. Sorry. And, I don't know what else to say, because it's hard for me to talk. And if I'm not there, I don't know what I'm going to do. And a lot of people just love me and love me back. Just feel if I'm not going to be there, I don't know what to do with my life. Sorry. Never got terminated before. I'm just trying to do the best I can. And when they want me somewhere, sometimes they can't make it. And we all make mistakes. That's what I want to say. We all make mistakes. And I just try to do the best I can. But when things happen, I know. So, I guess that's all I can say. Thanks, sir. I don't know. Just don't know what I'm going to do with my life now. God gave me this. When my mom died, she said, I want you to have a good job. When I started here, I was like, this would be great. I'm doing everything. I've been cleaning for over 20 years. Been cleaning for over 20 years, and this is the best place I've ever been to. And I just try to do the best I can. And when I can't go help somebody, it just kills me. And that's what happened one day when someone got hurt. I couldn't get over there, but each of us has our own buildings after 2:30, and I think I accidentally shut off the radio. They know I'm in building 5. They even have my phone number. It's like, how come they didn't call me? I don't understand. And so that's what happened, I think, because now they're letting me go. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Appreciate you being here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Next, we have the consent agenda, A through G. Have a motion?
Mr. President, move the approval of items 5A through G.
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Anybody need to pull anything or discuss anything? Hearing none, I'll ask for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. All right. We're down to item 7, personnel. Get down there a little bit.
I move we approve item 7A and combine that with 7B.
But not C?
Oh, I didn't realize there's a C.
Yes.
Yeah, I would I'll amend my motion to be 7A, B, and C.
Second.
Oh, you're talking about 7, okay. You're ahead of me,
A through C.
okay. 7, A, B, and C have been combined, is that correct?
Yes.
Moved and seconded,
Okay,
yes.
moved and second. Any discussion, any questions? Nothing about the new job, okay. Hearing none?
Actually, I have
Acclamation?
a question. Yeah, sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm still trying to process
Me
what's
too.
happening here, I'm sorry.
Yes. Is there
Go ahead.
is there a way that we can pull Mike out of this until we get some information? I mean, this is me, you know how I get, and I just feel like, I feel like we don't know enough details to.
So I'm sorry, poll,
Mike Davis
He's,
from the resignation termination list.
we can do whatever you all direct us to do.
Just-
Absolutely.
I feel like there was something that happened that he wants to talk about, or like, we don't know. I just feel like I don't have enough information. That's all.
So we can pull him out. Yes, the short answer is yes. I think the downside, not the downside, the opposite side to that is that, and I'm okay with pulling it, but one of the commitments I made to the governing board is that I would not have individuals come in front of you that I didn't believe in, just because I believe it doesn't make it so. It's ultimately your responsibility. But that I believe that I would never bring an individual to you that didn't, from my perspective, deserve to be there. And deserve is a harsh term. And so, yes, there's more to that story as there is to every story. And we certainly can revisit it, but I would wager that every single situation that has come before you, there was a story that you just didn't hear because the individual didn't come. Also, the individual, until the decision is made, I don't believe it is in the best interest of the organization to have him working. So essentially, we would have him assigned a home for pay pending the outcome, which is fine. We've done, that isn't an uncommon thing to do. So the answer is, yes, we can pull it out. The short answer, the longer answer is that every single situation that's come before you has come with a story attached to it that oftentimes we have navigated through. And in this particular situation, the individual shared their perspective, but their perspective was shared in a call to the public, which we don't have the ability to respond to. The individual was recommendation to be terminated without cause, so therefore there wasn't more to be provided than just that. But we certainly can hold that termination for 2 weeks and have an executive session discussion on the rationale behind the recommendation for termination.
I don't mean to sound like I'm going against you, Dr. Wilson.
No.
Please don't understand, I don't want you to feel that way. I just was in this position and I didn't have a voice. So you know that when this happens, it does touch my heart a little bit. That's, and it's not anything against you or your recommendation. It's mainly about, and maybe everybody's going to vote. I'm just asking, that's all.
And it's not. I know it's not a me thing, and I didn't mean to imply that. And I understand that I think it is an emotional situation for everybody sitting in the room. How could it not be? And so the short answer to your question is yes, we can. The concern I would have is that anytime somebody does come, then are we in a situation that we then need to bring all of the employees in front of you for a discussion? And if so, we can. That would just shift how we operationalize the organization. But we can, yes, withhold and bring it back at our next meeting.
Mr. Lane made the
Can I,
motion.
he did, but can I ask you, Dr. Wilson, what is the protocol in terms of when there are employees that are let go or they choose to leave, like an exit interview? What is available to the board for us to understand the story in this situation so that we have some information so we're not caught off guard, if I'm making myself clear here?
So, yes, on the front end. So there's a challenge with that, I'll be honest with you. There's a challenge with that. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor, but if an individual is, if the recommendation is to be terminated as an at-will employee for no cause, right, it just isn't the right fit. The individual, I think currently by our practice or policy, has the ability to provide a written documentation, which I do believe you have in your backup for another situation that's here, then that's the opportunity they have to share their concern. Individuals, whether it is for cause or not for cause, have the ability to come to the governing board and speak at the call to the public. If it's an individual that is recommended, the recommendation is termination for cause, then they don't have the same protective property rights as a certified teacher, but there is some measurements that are in place, and we've been through that. If you remember, there was a situation a couple years ago in which we had that. So the short answer is absent, I suppose, and I don't know, the short answer is if the recommendation is termination without cause, I don't know that there is documentation other than it's not the right fit for the organization. And I think if there is documentation that implies there is cause, then the termination should be for cause, which then has some of those safety measures in place. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just wanted to revisit that to make sure we have our protocols and our bylaws and everything in place for us to handle these situations, so, thank you. Yes, and I believe it was both first and second.
And I believe, hey, Kevin, is there an exit interview, Mr. Director of Legal Services?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so the after the fact, the after the fact has some of that information, at least from the employee's perspective. Again, from the organizational perspective, sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sometimes it's been that we're just moving in a different direction.
I understand, thank you.
Mr. Lane, do you wish to amend it, your motion or
Well,
not?
I think the proper way to do this would be a motion and a second, a vote to amend the, we already have I don't know, perhaps Kevin can weigh in on the
You have
proper
a-
way to do that.
You have a motion and a second, so you would need a motion to amend
Right.
and have that second, and then you vote on the motion to amend, and if that passes, you vote on the amended motion. If it doesn't, you vote on the original motion.
Right.
Mr. President, I move that we amend the motion to pull out Mr. Davis from 7A for later action by the board.
To table it.
Well, we can't table it.
What?
We can't table it.
Table the resolution? Yeah. Did I say table? I didn't mean to say
Yeah.
table.
No.
I didn't say table.
Not table. We can't table it.
Was it
It's
7A?
not-
It was asking to pull it out.
Hold on, separately.
So that the motion will be everything that we moved.
Right.
With the exception of Mr. Davis.
That one item, yeah.
Is that, Mr. Gilboa?
That's the way that
help me
works,
here.
so.
Yeah, your motion is to amend the current motion by removing Mr. Davis from the list.
Yes,
Yes.
that's my motion.
So this is just a learning experience for me. So is the motion that's being made now to amend the motion?
Correct.
Right? But by tabling it, you're actually making a motion. So do you come back?
I don't
I mean, not tabling it, there, by making can he amend, isn't the motion to not do Dave's motion? And then you come back with, or can you amend
No,
it?
no, this is
Okay.
to amend the
My
motion.
motion.
Let's amend the motion to add it to the
Okay.
motion.
Yeah,
Just want to know
that's the
more.
proper way to do it. So we'd need a second, and then we'd vote the amendment, and then we go back to the original.
I don't know if we can amend it.
So if we get a second for that, we can do that, and then we
Yeah.
have,
Got
the.
you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I'll second. It's a seconded twice.
In stereo.
Call the question?
Called question, individual vote?
Probably be in order.
No.
We'll call question, individual vote. Lane,
No.
Boggs.
Aye.
Hobson,
Aye.
Metcalf,
No.
Watkins,
Aye.
McAfee's an aye. Covington.
Abstained.
Okay, so motion passes, motion carries 4-2.
So
42?
back on the original.
So now we
So-
just vote the original
No, we
amended.
just,
The original.
yes.
7A.
So now it's 7, A,
Mr.
B, and
Davis
C.
pulled out.
Correct.
7A, B, and C without Mr. Davis, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Now, can I have a question on that original? Something
Yes, you
on, on C?
It's always good to ask questions.
Sometimes my questions are dumb. Dr. Wilson, on the job descriptions for new positions, about how many non-teaching jobs have we created in the last 12 months?
Oh, right.
Good question. So we pulled some of that information, and so when we say created, we expanded the number of security we have here. So is that a new position, or is that a position that's just been expanded?
Yes, it's a hard, my question isn't super qualitative or qualifiable or whatever the word, I'm embarrassed. Quantitative, thank you. I guess what I'm looking for is legitimate new positions that did not exist before, not expanded,
Fair.
if that works.
So of the legitimate new positions that are not expanded positions that existed before, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not counting the 3 that are on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
So it would be 9 as a total with the 3 on tonight. Of the 3 that are on tonight, or then the 9 total, 2 of the 9, which is 2 of the 3 tonight, are grant-funded positions, meaning that when we wrote the grant, part of what we wrote for was to have dollars to fund positions to help manage the grant. One of the things I've said previously is that I want us to be very careful that we don't become so dependent on grant dollars
Yes.
that at some point, if the grant rolls out, that we've built a system that isn't sustainable or attainable. And so when these grant dollars roll out, these positions will no longer exist, or they will exist, but the programs that they're designed to support have grown sufficiently enough that they're self-sustaining for the positions themselves. So the idea would be to have these positions, especially the 2 of the 3 tonight, that are funded through the grant in order to get the programs up and running, and then as successful as we expect them to be, revenue generated from the program would actually pay for the position moving forward, so it would not be an added cost onto our existing M&O.
Okay. I think it's really impressive with the amount of expansion that we have. What are we at, 7,200, you said?
Yes.
That we have added, frankly, so few. And I also am very impressed that they are grant funded and that we will be able to get out of
Sustain
that and
them.
be able to sustain them.
Yes.
So I think, I like that. I'm impressed with that.
Thank you.
very
I think
much.
one of the things, I think a lot of the positions that you guys have approved over the course of time were existing positions. When you look at the main campus, I think we've added 4 different security. Part of those securities are to do the overnight, 24, so that we have 24/367. When you look at our deans, at one point in time, I think when we first started, we had 3, and now we're at 5. Well, we've doubled in our enrollment, so that would naturally make sense. So a lot of those positions that we've added, when we look at our office staff, we've needed additional office staff because the number of students that we're servicing. So the vast majority of what we've added has been existing positions because of growth.
Thank you.
Now we're back to the original motion.
Back to the original motion.
Tammy, you want to read
No,
the motion?
you're on the amended motion.
Amended
It's
motion.
7A through C with the absence of Mr. Davis.
Correct.
Correct. So we're going to, roll call it.
Okay. Lane?
Wait,
Sorry.
before-
Nope.
Clarify what we're voting on, please.
You're voting on 7A, B, and C where you've removed Mr. Davis from 7A.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And you'd still like roll call?
I want to make sure, roll call, fine.
Okay. Lane?
Aye.
Boggs?
Aye.
Hobson?
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote. I'm generally not a fan of for-cause terminations. It's my long history as an employment lawyer. My colleagues, some of them at least, have wanted to have another look at this, and I appreciate that. I do think it's a responsibility of the board we put administration in charge, and generally speaking, we follow the recommendations of the administration. My colleagues, I think, some of them at least want to have another look, or I think they're actually asking the administration to have another look at Mr. Davis's situation, and I defer to that. That being said, if the recommendation is still for the termination for no cause, I would vote affirmatively the next time around. So I just want to be clear. No cause terminations happen all the time. It's not a black mark on your record. You just have to hustle, get another job typically. But I think some of my colleagues at least want to have a look at this and have the administration have a look at this. And so that's the basis of my vote. So I'm an aye.
Okay.
Yeah. Long-winded.
Metcalf?
Like a lawyer.
Watkins?
Aye.
McAfee's an aye. Covington?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
Before you move on,
Yes, sir.
don't leave Mr. Davis hanging. Do you want to table him till next meeting? You'll need a motion to table Mr. Davis.
Okay.
I move that we table the consideration of Mr. Davis's termination until its next scheduled meeting, which I think may mean the next meeting, but.
The next
not
meeting.
necessarily.
In 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Do we have to wait that long, or could we do a?
We need a
could do
second?
Yes, yeah.
We do have to wait that long? Okay.
Do we have a second?
I seconded it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll vote this by acclamation.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, no, they've lost my place in my page.
We're at 8.
Let me help you.
8A, thank you.
First, Mr. Kilgore.
8A. Okay, information discussion, policy revision. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Covington. This is a revision to Chapter 6, Section 20, subsection C, subsection 3. We're just taking out the requirement for a signed written agreement because we no longer have signed written agreements. They've gone paperless.
Are there online written agreements?
I don't know how they do it. I assume when they get out there, they have to approve
They
it,
have
yes.
to.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's probably just a checkbox as opposed to
Okay.
a signed agreement.
Makes sense.
It's acknowledgement.
Okay. Any discussion? I guess not. Then, thank you for the information.
It's a first read.
Discussion?
Right.
Now we go on to discussion of interest of board member to travel to ACTE Career and Technology Vision 2024. And Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, this is like the, I always bring this back, just 'cause I want to make sure, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So as a reminder, when we were together last time, part of the request was that you all would kind of understand that when we get to the action item, you have to actually indicate which board members are wanting to go.
Correct.
We asked you to submit if you were interested, so we would know that. The submittals that we received were from Mr. Watkins, from Mr. Covington, and Mr. Lane to attend the conference in San Antonio, the national conference in San Antonio. So when you get to the action item, the motion would need to include one or all of those names in order for us to be able to get them signed up, okay?
Okay. When we get to the motion, I would say the person that wants to go, say, I'd like to go, instead of me calling roll, if that's all right. Okay? All right. Discussion interest?
We're not doing the motion.
Yeah, that's a different motion later. Okay. Now, we have the East Valley Consortium meeting coming up. We have a nice invitation from Higley, but we also have a board meeting the same evening.
Normally, those are held on the 5th Monday.
Yeah.
What's the?
Don't know. I don't know why.
They don't want us to go?
Now, I'm hoping that it'll revert to the next cycle, because this, I don't think, is good for many.
Well, there's
but-
going to be other boards that have the same conflict.
Yeah.
So,
But that's where this one is scheduled. So I find it interesting myself, but
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Ma'am. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Is there a possibility that one of us could abstain from the meeting or not attend the meeting on the 9th and be a representative to attend the East Valley School Boards Consortium meeting and then be able to bring that information back and provide a report later?
Yes, that is possible.
Okay.
as long as we have a quorum, 4 of you can go. I'm okay, but I need 5 here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
One or two, but we will make sure we have at least 5 here.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm just bringing that as an option.
Okay.
And then if that is the case, Mr. President, then I'll ask one of our administrative team members to join as well, so there's representation from
Perfect.
administration as well.
Okay, perfect, thank
We'd
you.
like someone to go, especially one of the back.
critical mass.
Critical mass.
Okay. Is there,
So can I?
is there a volunteer? You
Oh,
want to
good call.
volunteer for this?
I will volunteer.
Yeah, that's,
The
yeah,
two of you?
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two's my max that I'd
Okay.
like to go by.
And then if you don't have a quorum, if for some reason something comes up, like something happens, then let either one of us know, and then we can adjust our
Yeah,
schedule.
we
Rock,
don't know
paper,
that.
scissors.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
throw
Tammy, you'll
spaghetti
take care of
against the
that
wall,
problem?
right.
Well, you two are going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think with, our board to make sure that We have enough here for a quorum.
Will that mean there's a Lincoln Douglas debate gonna break out in the? Because if that's gonna happen, I want to go.
Do you want to go too? Yeah.
No.
I mean, there's,
Out of order.
Sorry.
so there's two, is that,
Yes.
okay,
Ms.
We have
Boggs
two.
and myself,
okay.
and me.
And I'll get an administrator to go as well.
Please,
and then we'll respond.
that would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Might,
Yes, yes, sir, Mr. Lane.
you might, the delegation that goes, have them speak to why they've departed from long tradition.
Oh, yeah.
So to ask that question of
great-
why it's placed on,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the whole reason
Thank
we
you.
have that month, is because there's 5th and there's no possible board meeting on that
Correct,
Monday.
except ours.
Well, I'm sure others,
There's probably other schools that have it. Other
I
districts.
don't know. That's a great question for the two of you. It is.
I think we own Mondays,
We appreciate that question being asked.
definitely.
Yes, sir, we will take care of it.
it's a departure.
Thank you.
You will have representation.
I know we have someone there to do that. Okay,
And it's action item 9A.
zoning board meeting on the
No,
calendar.
9A.
Are, there's 9, I think you missed.
Oh, yeah, I missed 9. Thank you. 9. Okay, action items. We have apprentice tuition fees and fees. Have we hear a motion?
I'll move that we approve the 9A apprenticeship tuition and fees as presented.
Thank you.
I will second.
We have a first and second. Any discussion on it?
May I ask a question? And only
Yes, you may.
because I had a parent call asking questions on fees on another program. And I looked briefly on board docs, so I'm sure it's user error on my part, but is there a list of all the out-of-pocket fees for high school students? I know there is for adult ed, but in my very, basic search, I didn't find one for recent high school students, or can you give that to me
By program?
by program?
My
Yeah,
program,
yeah.
I know there was the whole supply and
approve it
everything,
every year.
but I know, I just couldn't find it.
Yeah, I can get it to
I was
you.
going through board docs and I just couldn't find it.
Like
can get it
Okay,
to you.
April or May.
okay.
It was on
I know.
that sheet where no one could read it because it's so small.
Was that because I was searching, and I spent an hour searching, and it was there, I just couldn't find it, so.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Guess we need a call for the question.
Yes, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll say aye, aye. Any opposed? Say no. Motion carries.
Okay. Approve for board member action, ACTE, and add to this motion before we have a first or second. If there's anybody that wants to go to that, speak up now, forever be quiet. It's like at a wedding.
I can make a motion first.
Mr. Watson,
Yes,
you want to go?
yes, I
Okay, Mr. Watson, we're on the list.
Watkins.
Watkins,
Mr. Covington be on the list,
Covington,
Lane, I thought.
and
And Lane.
Mr. Lane? Okay, Mr. Lane. Okay, so we have 3 people that want, 3 board members that want to go.
I don't know.
So those are 3 names. Now we need a motion or any discussion?
Call these guys our conference delegation, then we can.
No, I'm just, okay, no. I went on the website to see. No violence here. To see where, if it would, benefit something I was interested in. And there's a few things, but just it being so far away, I don't want to commit to anything, so. But there's some things
There's some
that
good
pique my
stuff.
interest, and I normally don't see a lot. So, but anyway,
Okay.
that was the discussion, because we talked about it.
That's
There's
discussion.
our
So, just for transparency.
Okay, without tears.
Mr. President, I move the approval of board travel under item 9B for Watkins, Covington, and Lane to be the delegation from EVIT to attend and represent us at that conference.
I will second that.
Okay, we should take a vote by acclamation. We'll go.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Okay. IFB for commercial welding equipment and supplies. We had one person make a bid. So do I hear a motion?
Mr. President, I move the approval of item 9C on the agenda.
I second that.
Okay, we have first and second. Any questions? Hearing none. I'll ask for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Item D, funding approved for AAS organization and dinner meetings, STEM event, CTE superintendent's luncheon meeting, and I would add to that almost board members to attend. I don't know. Do we have to put that in there?
I think we've already approved, I think you've already approved.
Okay,
board.
just want to make sure. All right. No board members in there, just as is?
Mr. President, question for Dr. Wilson. Is this part of the Auditor General's?
Yes.
Yes,
Fiddling?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what the Auditor General wants us to do, so we'll do it.
Mr. President, I move the approval of item 9D on the agenda.
I second that, Mr. President.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson, you're on here to address the item. If you need to address anything?
No, Mr. President, members of the governing board, just for your edification, the AAS orientation is the associates, as we're starting to pull everybody together. The only time we can meet with them is in the evening because they're teaching during the day. So we thought we would get them dinner as part of their meeting. The STEM event you saw that you're invited to on the 4th, it's a breakfast. And then the CTED superintendent luncheon, we're hosting the CTED consortia September 4th, and we're going to have a luncheon as we have our meeting. So that's what those events are.
Sounds great.
Thank you. We're through with discussion. Call for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Now, next page. E, Governing Board Meeting Calendar Revision for 2024.
Mr. President, I move we approve item 9E on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? We're doing it just to make sure we're come on the second, fourth.
Correct, sir.
Okay, because we had a boo-boo. Okay. I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, call for executive session.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for purposes of discussing item 10 on the agenda.
Mr. President, I second that.
Okay. Call for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Executive session.
Here we go.
Here we go.
To the,
fishbowl anymore.
it's not a fish bowl, but to the bowl.
The motto.
Find where we are.
To bring the meeting back to order.
Mr. President, I move we direct the legal counsel to, item 11, we move the legal counsel to proceed as directed in executive session.
I'll second that. I'll give it to Mr. Watkins.
We've already had discussion. Ask for the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Staff reports, Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, just a quick update. I already gave part of it. Our enrollment, after the first 10 days of school, you have to purge the number of students that haven't attended, so it's always this fluctuating number we don't know. Excuse me. And I believe that we are at about 7,200 when you look at the number of students, both high school and then the adults that are in high school classes, which represents a significant growth over last year, which is a significant growth last year over the year before. That doesn't include our adult-only programs, and so as you're aware that we have a cohort of surgical tech in the AA that is progressing through. We start our first RN cohort at the end of this month, and then we'll do another two more starts for both of those before the year is done, as well as our traditional adult education-only welding, HVAC. We know with our apprenticeship, as was mentioned earlier, that will service our high school students, but in time that will also lean into and support some adults. So it's an exciting time to be a part of EVIT, but as we've said multiple times, the urgency and the need to be able to do some of the remodeling, some of the renovations, the technology, couldn't have come at a more opportune time given some of the growth that we're experiencing. We moved, as we said last time, the foster facility. We have 20 individuals living there. One of the things that makes 20. Yeah, one of the things that makes us so, in my opinion, the magic of EVIT is our people. You guys are wonderful in giving us facilities and tools and resources, but it's really the people that work here that make us who we are. And one of the things that was important to us is to have our folks be able to lean in and support our students living at Hope Tech. And so we reached out to the faculty and staff here at main campus and said, if you're interested in trying to lean in and see if you can't be a part of helping this journey, helping shepherd this journey, we would love to have you be part of it. Well, we had, I want to say 24 individuals say, I would love to be part of that. So we're not calling them mentors, we're calling them coaches, and mentors carries with a very different connotation. But the belief on it is that navigating EVIT is difficult for anybody at times. And so having a resource here that allows you an access point to help navigate EVIT, but also to navigate the career that you're choosing to be in, to navigate, just seems to make sense. And so I'm really pleased that we have folks that want to step in and lean in and support a group of students that we've all put our arms around. Met with Scottsdale Unified School District and remember we talked a year ago about the possibility of looking at doing some creative partnering with them, and then things, it was a little bit late in the semester, and so we sat back down with them again, and I believe that there is still a really great opportunity to partner with SUSD and Coronado High School and help the Charros and that kind of Scottsdale community to help build capacity to grow opportunities not only on that campus but throughout that section of our CTED. So it's an exciting time to be here. Growth, partnerships, unique opportunities. It's just really it's an exciting, interesting place to be in. As I said earlier, we start our RN program at the end of this month, so we're excited.
I want to comment something really quick.
I'm sorry?
I want to comment on something really quick. One of the residents in our foster program, I moved her in, and we got her place all ready, and it's her room set up and everything. And when I was leaving, I just wanted to let everybody know that young lady hugged me, and she said, "This is changing my entire life."
Wow.
And so it's important that everybody understands. I mean, I think everybody knows that it is life-changing, but when you have one of the residents tell you, it is changing my life, I'm so grateful and so
cool.
thankful that we worked so hard to make sure that this happened.
One of the things that we say here, and we say a lot, I say it a lot of times because I'm a word salad, but I think it is truly who we are, is that we change lives. That's who we are. And we talked about this when I became your superintendent. We change lives first by loving our students and serving our communities. And when you look at things like whether it's Hope Tech or the associates or the apprenticeship or I mean, you go down the list, and all of those are different on-ramps and off-ramps to changing lives, but it's not possible without having the capacity to have a loving heart and having the courage to do things that oftentimes people talk about but just don't do. Dr. Doolin whispered in my ear that, we're starting our first cohort of RN at the end of August, and we now have a wait list for our second cohort. And so when we start talking about, how can we help lean in? We know the healthcare shortage in the state of Arizona isn't going to get better, it's going to get worse. And so can we be an avenue that helps solve some of that? And can we then help others, whether it's other CTEDs or other entities, look for ways to lean in and support their unique situations across the state of Arizona? So it's not just a...
Which is why we worked so hard to make sure that associate's degree passed, so that
Across.
it offered all the CTEDs in the state of Arizona to do what EVIT's doing.
So it's an exciting time. So thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you.
It's fabulous.
That's unusual, that short. But you haven't had it. Okay, adjournment, you hear a motion?
I move that we
We
adjourn.
need a calendar.
Oh, calendar, excuse me. Next meeting's August 26th, 24, in 2 weeks. Mr. Davis is on that? Okay. Anything else we need to, anybody want to put anything on it? Hearing none. We'll go on to the next item. B, adjournment by acclamation.
I move that we approve adjournment, item 10B, or sorry,
Second.
13B.
13, lucky 13.
Second?
Okay. Call the question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, we're adjourned.
Thank you all.